friends, it's Kayla Moran and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. How's everybody doing today? Happy Thursday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day or time it is that you're listening. So happy to be back on the mic with you guys. I am currently about to leave for my road trip. I'm currently sitting in self-tanner. I dermaplaned my face. I trimmed my eyebrows. I am basking in the glow. Gonna eat lunch after this, get some more work done. I finished packing and we are off to the airport and the road trip will begin. I'm going to fly to my first destination, be there for the weekend, and then we'll be leaving on Monday. So chronicles will be to come. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm going to do my best to document all of it and share a little bit more about my digital nomad life, which is going to be part of the adventure of this year. I really focus on building my business and my brand here in Miami, and that will always be where I'm based. That is always going to be home, and that is always where I'm going to end up. But while I have the opportunity for the next few months to kind of travel and see where I go, I'm really looking forward to it. Apologies for the text messages that are coming in. But yeah, I'm so excited that I get to document my life and bring you guys along with me and also not stop work while I do it. Like, my goal was always to build a career and a lifestyle that felt right and it felt aligned with me. And I wanted to have a lifestyle where I could work because I genuinely enjoyed the work and I wanted to work, and I enjoy having my own business and I enjoy helping the people that I do, creators and influencers and entrepreneurs in the creator economy. That is my passion. I love it so much. I love the networking. I love the mentorship. I love the content. I love connecting with people. All of it's so much fun. And I like to be able to have a life, I get to log off and spend time with my family and my friends and myself and enjoy the beautiful weather of where I live and travel the world. And, I bring my laptop and I work with me, sometimes, but also being able to shut things off and be present in the moment, which, if you've been listening for a while, has been my goal for the last few years. But I'm not going out of office on this trip. I will be working, which I'm going to try to do the best I can. And I'm going to document it for you guys, which I'm really looking forward to. And I've never done such a long road trip. I've never done a cross-country road trip. And yeah, I'm not going to tell you guys too much about it, but ahead of time. But follow along on social media to see as it's happening what I'm up to. And I don't want to give it too much away because, to be honest, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's to come. I know where the starting point is. I know where the ending point is. And I know where we might try to stop along the way. But I don't know what to tell you guys. So follow along to come along for the ride with me. Let's do a quick suck and sweet of the week, and then we'll dive into this week's guest. My suck of the week. Let's see. Something that I've been really working on recently is in my friendships and my relationships with just the people in my life, taking ownership and accountability of my faults and how my insecurities manifest in my behavior. I'm really open. I'm very emotional. I'm very vulnerable, and I'm very communicative. Not everybody is as communicative and emotional as me. So I tend to have moments where I get upset or frustrated that the other person does not see things from my perspective or understand where I'm coming from, because they just can't. They are not going to be able to, because they are not as emotional as me. I feel things very deeply. I think I wouldn't say I'm full on empath, but I have more empathetic tendencies for sure. And that plays a role a lot in my, heated arguments and discussions. And unfortunately, it does manifest in ways where I do hurt people unintentionally. And I hurt myself ultimately more in the process. And that's something that I've always struggled with and I've been working on for years. And little by little, I'm getting better at it. I think as more people in my life are unafraid to call me out and to be honest with me, and that they truly care about me, so they want to help me, help them, help myself. And it's really scary to admit this. I feel safe doing so on the podcast, no other place. It's something that I'm glad I have a journaling practice now, because it's something that I'm really getting out of my system and talking about and journaling and making little changes to work on and to stop being so, sensitive and, pointing fingers and picking apart words. I've had it done to me before. That's where I learned it. And I didn't like how it felt. So now realizing that I do indeed do it, I didn't realize it until really recently. Knowing I do it now I can do something about it. And I'm really looking forward to being able to work on that for myself and for the people in my life. And, I'm excited to see how far I continue to grow and how far I continue to go personally, professionally, and just with myself. Ultimately, the goal is to fall more in love with myself and genuinely love who I am. And the more I become that version of myself that I truly love and cherish and support and champion, the more I can show up for the others around me and you guys. And so that's been a tough pill to swallow for sure, but very, very necessary. And I'm glad that I have people in my life who genuinely do truly care about me and want to help me get better and be better. So yeah, that's my suck of the week. A little bit of a vulnerable moment there. And my sweet of the week is that I'm really excited for this road trip. Much needed getaway, a change of scenery, and to explore some new places I've never been to before. And I'm just really looking forward to time away from Miami. Like I said, Miami will always be home. Miami will always be where I come back to and I end up. But, the only way to know that you truly love something is to set it free, right? So it's time to spread my wings a little. It's only going to be 2 weeks, or a week and a half really. And I'm really looking forward to some time away from the beautiful place I call home and my childhood bedroom, because sometimes living in the place where you grew up isn't the most fun. I'm grateful for it, but I'm ready to be in some fresh open air and try new things and experience new things. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm so, so grateful that I have the opportunity to do it and to do it with someone that I truly care about. And I'm looking forward to spending more time with and building our relationship stronger. And, it's going to be fun. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be hectic. But it's going to be really fun. And I'm bringing the We're Not Really Strangers card game along with us. So to make the drive more fun and interactive and, get to know each other in a way that isn't so scary, like not the 20 questions Spanish Inquisition. And I also have the Serena Kerrigan Let's Fucking Date, Let's Fucking Play games. So we're going to play that as well. I love all these little card games. I think they're so fun, such a great way to get to know each other, whether it's friends or dating. I played it with my friend last night, the We're Not Really Strangers Friendship Edition. I got a couple different packs. So much fun. I've seen other people playing them out on dates, which is hilarious, and I love that. I don't know if I would ever play in public, but so fun. Highly recommend getting them. I will link it below so you guys can check them out. I think it's so much fun to have a different way to get to know each other and dive a little deeper, and it takes the pressure off because it's a game and it's supposed to be fun. I actually have a TikTok that has done really well on why I like playing these card games on like dates 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like really get to know that person in the first month and a half, 2 months, to see if that's someone that you really want to continue to get to know, because you really don't know somebody until you've really lived with them truly and get to know them for like 6, 7, 8 months, a year. Obviously I'm not there yet, but as we have these deeper conversations that are fostered by these card games, it makes it so much easier to get to know the person that you are trying to get to know. So I think it's such a fun, easy, low pressure way to get to know someone. So I highly recommend, and I'm really looking forward to the road trip. So yeah, stay tuned, follow along, and I hope you guys are excited for this week's guest. She is someone who I think is doing something so genius. She's 27, so she's basically my age, and she graduated from college. She didn't really know what she wanted to do with her life. She had the opportunity to go live abroad for a little bit. She thought, why the hell not? And 4 years later, she's been living abroad, and she started her own business abroad. And it came out of just necessity And it has become so much more than that. And it's become her true passion. And she's using skills that she didn't think she had or didn't think that would transfer over into what she's doing now. And we talk all about that and how she built her business and being an American living abroad and how entrepreneurship has shaped her and changed her and how she's grown from it and all the things that I love to talk about on here with you guys. We get really, really nitty gritty, and I think it's such an incredible episode, especially if you are in that 20 to 22 range where you're still figuring out what you want to do. You don't have to have it all figured out, and that's exactly what this conversation with systems with Sam is all about. Sam Whisnant, she is someone that I'm so glad I have in my life now, and I'm so glad I know, and we're gonna work together. I'm gonna be on her podcast too, Beyond the System, so stay tuned for that. And I think it's so fun to surround yourself with other like-minded people, especially women and entrepreneurial women who get it and just they're young, they're into it, they're ready to put in the work, and they're making do with what they got and building something all on their own that allows them to live the life that they want to live and the life that they do live. And those are my kind of people. So I'm so glad I get to bring you guys this candid conversation. I hope you guys enjoy. If you like it, please leave a rating and a review. Please subscribe to the show, share with a friend, tag us as you're listening. Let me know who you want to see next, what topics you want me to cover next. And I will see you very, very soon. Meet Sam. Sam, what is something that people wouldn't know about you just from following you?
Ooh, just from following me, I guess it's something I don't talk about a lot, but I would say about 2 years into entrepreneurship, or maybe like a year and a half into entrepreneurship, I actually applied to go to graduate school, and I was planning on quitting my business and going to graduate school. I don't think I've ever shared that online, actually. Um,
I
and
like the I
yeah,
like the
I was gonna
juiciness.
give up.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said that. Like, why? Like, because there's that saying, right? Like most businesses don't make it past a year, and like most businesses fail within 5 years, and you're in year four, so like you're getting closer to that point. But what made you? And like I've also seen a lot of people, you know, they start off as a side hustle and then they quit their full-time job and then they realize like no, maybe like freelance or going on my own isn't for me. Let me go back to a 9 to 5. I have a lot of people, I know people who've done that. But you were like considering going back to school. Why going back to school instead of going to a 9 to 5 job or like a traditional job? Like walk me through that like thought process of like, okay, like things aren't really working out. Let me go back to school.
Yeah, I think there's a few moving pieces in it. So I'm originally from Oklahoma, and I have a degree in biochemistry. So I graduated from university with a biochemistry degree, and then I moved abroad. And that was when I started my business as well. I didn't know anything about the online space before moving abroad, and I kind of just fell into it, like went down a Google rabbit hole. I have no experience in business or marketing. It was just something that I saw, and I was like, I really want to make some more money, and just have a bit more stability. And I like the idea of being able to travel and, work from anywhere, the whole narrative around online work. I really like that idea. I'm a Sagittarius, I'm an Enneagram 7. So freedom is like
I'm
very,
a
very big
Sagittarius
core value
too.
of mine. Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. So you understand. You're like, freedom
Yeah.
is such a big core piece to everything
Yeah.
I do. And, I don't know, I just kind of fell into it. I started working as a virtual assistant. I started picking up clients, and it just grew, especially during the lockdown and stuff. All I was doing was working. So I grew pretty quickly once I really put my focus into it. I think I went from like $400 months to like $3,000 months within just a few months. And then I was traveling a lot during the time, and then I ended up going home, went back to Oklahoma, and I just had this whole narrative around, this isn't a real job, this isn't a career, I'm from a very traditional family in a sense of my family all has graduate degrees, they all have very, 9 to 5 traditional jobs, or my mom is a nurse, which is not a 9 to 5, but kind of the same idea. Where it was all very just traditional career paths that people were on, and that was all I saw growing up. So in my mind, I just thought this isn't sustainable. This isn't a career. I need to go back to school. I applied to do a graduate program in nutrition to become a registered dietitian because I was really passionate about health and wellness at the time, and I still am, but really a lot at the time. And I thought I need to, yeah, go back to school and then I can go become a registered dietitian. And then even my plan with that was like become a registered dietitian and then like start an Instagram page and create my own personal brand and basically have an online business as a registered dietitian. So looking back, it was kind of like, okay, you still do want to be an entrepreneur, but you also want this safety net as well. Um, and I think, yeah, I just chose to apply because I didn't see where being a virtual assistant could lead to long-term stability, or I just couldn't see the bigger picture of what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted at the time, and that just felt like a very safe option.
Yeah, that's fair. I think something that like came to me while you were talking is, do you think because your parents all have, like your family has graduate degrees and traditional jobs, that played a role in you wanting that safety net? Or was it like, did they ever like, no, don't do your own thing, or like that's not a good idea? Did they ever put pressure or doubt in you? Or was it you just saw that they had that security and you wanted that?
I think it was definitely just seeing it for myself. They never pressured me to do one thing or the other. Like the only thing that I knew as a kid was you need to go to school. Like that was always the pressure of like you need to go to college um and get some sort of degree. That's all my parents really wanted. And beyond that, it didn't really matter what we did. Like my parents really wanted us to be happy and to pursue what we wanted to pursue. But I do think it was just seeing that and not seeing an entrepreneur, not understanding how running a business could actually create a different kind of lifestyle for that. And I think there was also a time in my teenage years when my parents got divorced. And after the divorce, things were very, very chaotic within my family, especially financially. And so from that time in my life, there was definitely a lot of desire to have a lot of financial stability, especially. And that was why I chose to get a biochemistry degree. That was why I chose to, really pursue a more stable career path at first, or that's why I wanted to. And so, yeah, I think it was just a lot of those old feelings come up of like, can I really make a living off of this? Can I really support myself? Can I, I really have this desire to be like financially safe and also, more than financially safe. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to buy nice things and, whatever. Is that actually going to be possible? Or am I going to be this struggling entrepreneur um, because it's not as predictable?
Yeah, there's so much I want to touch on there. And the first thing is, it's funny you say like you saw them have stability and you really wanted that. And it makes sense why you craved it, especially having experienced like chaotic times. But for me, it's funny. Both of my parents are corporate America and they're still together, but they're both children of divorce. And actually, all four of my grandparents are entrepreneurs or were. And like they
Wow.
all have failed. They all failed actually multiple times. I don't think any of them were ever really truly successful. In like and I think also we have to reframe what success means. Like I think it's different to everybody, but digressing from that a little, it's funny that I didn't know that. I didn't know that all four of them were entrepreneurs. Actually, I learned this last week. So that was really funny to
Oh,
me
wow. Yeah.
because
That's a big,
yeah, that was, like, really interesting.
big
I knew
realization.
some of them were, but, like, I didn't know everybody was. So I was like, that makes a lot more sense now why my parents both chose the corporate America route, the stability, the finances, the 401k, the safety net, like, that there's kind of, like there is a lot of mobility in their careers and in their companies. Not all corporate America jobs are like that, but that's why they chose it. They chose having, like, a roadmap and a guide and someone to kind of tell them what to do so they didn't have to that roller coaster of on emotions that comes with being an entrepreneur, which I want to talk about with you. And like they never pressured me either. The whole thing was like you're going to school, like that's a non-negotiable. But like they wanted me to be happy. They encouraged us to try out everything that interested us and really did a good job of giving us opportunities and resources and access to things. And I'm very grateful for that. But I kind of had it in my head too, where like, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur pretty early on into law school, but I was like, I was the only one holding myself back for so long. I could have started things a lot earlier and be a lot more further along than I am right now, which I'm okay with where I'm at right now. Definitely there's things I want to change and things I want to do differently and grow and all of that. But like where I'm at right now is a good place to be. I just sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish I would have started sooner, but it was because I was holding myself back from that fear of not being successful, not having that stability, not having that safety net. That messaging like really hurt me. So it's interesting kind of seeing that was like you kind of dealt with that too. And for me, like I kept looking for jobs, even though I didn't want any of those jobs, instead of just putting my energy all in on my own thing. And if I would have done that sooner, I think things would be a little bit different. Who knows? Now, nobody ever knows what happens, but it's just funny to think of that. Like, I already do more school things. So, like, there wasn't more for me to do in that sense, but I kept trying to convince myself that a firm was the right fit for me for that safety net rather than just go on my own. But, I want to touch on, like you mentioned, like you did biochemistry and then you were thinking of doing nutrition, but you do operations. And so those don't really go together. How
Yeah,
did
no.
you how did you
Just
go
leave them.
from a 4-year biochem degree? Did you do well? Did you enjoy it? Like what was your plan there? And then how did you end up abroad? Like why go abroad after those 4 years? Did you try to get a job doing that or what happened?
Yeah, so I did really well in school. Actually, I've always been very good at school. I understand how school works. I'm a good test taker, blessed in that sense, as a kid for sure. But I I don't know. It was when I was in my biochemistry degree. Biochemistry is really a degree that's a stepping stone into other degrees, unless you want to have like a PhD in biochemistry, which not a lot of people who do biochemistry do that. Usually, most people who have a biochemistry degree are going to dental school, med school, some even law school, pharmacy school. So most of my friends in college were had these plans where it was like, okay, I'm applying to vet school, I'm applying, my best friend is in pharmacy school. um I knew a lot of people that went to medical school, PA school, all the different things. And I also said that throughout my whole 4 years, as I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to med school. And then, like, 6 months later, I'd be like, actually, I think I want to be a PA, like a physician's assistant. And then a few months later, I'd be like, no, I want to go to med school and I want to be a dermatologist. And I was always just changing my mind. And I could never nail down exactly what I wanted to continue to pursue. So, the last, and you have the same with law school, I think the last, year to year and a half of your study, you have to go take the LSAT, you have to go take the MCAT, you have to go take a test to start applying to schools. And then you have to go to apply to school, and then you have to interview, and you have to start that over a year before you even, go to graduate school. And I just never did. I just never started the process. I never took any tests. And I just was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a year off after graduating. I'm going to go work, and then I'm going to decide what I want to do later. So I just pushed off the decision. And I graduated. I started working. I was just working as a server in like a really nice restaurant. I was making pretty decent money. And then one of my friends, she got into a master's program in Barcelona, Spain. And so she was like, I know you want to travel. You're taking this gap year. Do you want to come with me and live with me? And maybe you can like find some work online or find some work there, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I just decided to take the leap. I just jumped in, went to Barcelona. I was teaching English online at first, and I hated that personally. Like I really hated it. So that was how I fell into the virtual assistant rabbit hole. But yeah, I think with biochemistry, I was good at school, and it was something that I enjoyed science. I really understood how science worked, and it was something I was good at, but I never was passionate about it. I didn't love it or anything like that. I think really where my kind of superpower is, seeing the bigger picture and then also breaking it down into really more simple ways to get there. I'm really good at problem solving, especially complex problems, and breaking them down into, more simple solutions. that also fits really well with a scientist. Like I think I could have gone on to a graduate school and been fine. But when I started working online, that really came out to play a lot more because as a virtual assistant, I was just learning all of this new stuff, learning all of these new tools. Like if you start an online business, you are basically learning everything from scratch because it's just a completely different world online. And so I really just dove into that head first and I started solving problems and stepping into that problem solver role for most of my clients. And I also started seeing a lot of things that could be improved and optimized. And when I learned about systems and operations and stuff like that, it just felt like a really natural fit where I was like, oh, yeah, like this is something that I enjoy doing. I like mapping out how stuff is supposed to work. I like when my clients come to me with a problem and then I can go and figure out how to make it better or solve the problem. Or even if they just say, oh, I wish this works a bit better. Like I love optimizing things and providing that efficiency. I do that in my own life as well a lot. And so yeah, so it just naturally kind of flowed into that once I started working online and started working with clients.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think anything that you learned in college helps you now? And you answered that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm jealous that you were good at school. Like I was good at school up until high
Yeah.
school, but college, like I love learning, but I'm not a good test taker. So school, like the assessment part of it, which in law school, all your grade is a test at the end of this class. And like that was
Yeah, I mean,
really
it's
hard.
crazy how it's set up.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing is like I was good at taking tests, but I know so many people are not, and they're still, probably smarter than me, or they probably know more than me about something, but just because
Yeah.
I'm good at taking it's a skill,
It's a
it's
skill.
something
And it's,
that yeah,
yeah, it just sucks that like the education system sometimes like it's better suited for some people and not others. But I think it's really good that you were able to kind of extract what you could from that program and use it in new ways today. And I think, it's funny, like you said, like you were a server when you graduated college, like you were good at school and you think you would have been happy, like you think you would have been good at being a scientist or something or med school because you're good at school, but you wouldn't have been happy and you wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. And I think at such a
yeah,
young age, at
definitely.
such a pivotal part of your life, I think that is huge that you knew that. And it took me a little longer to figure that out. Like, I was in law school and I was trying to make myself be happy doing something that I knew I wasn't happy in. And so I think it's huge that you didn't even like, I think it's a sign that you like kept putting off even applying and like choosing which test you were
Definitely.
going to take for which graduate program. I think that's huge. I think a lot of people just go with the flow and they see what everybody else is doing and they don't really stop to think. It's just like it's the plan. It's always been the plan. It's what everyone's told them. They've already set their mind to it. Like they're just going to follow through with it and it doesn't hit them until a little bit later. And that's what happened to me. And I'm grateful for it and it all worked out. But I think it's good that you knew that. And more people, I wish, were like that. And I think maybe like the people in their lives fostered that, like that curiosity of like questioning, like, is this really what you want rather than, oh, great, like, let me know how I can support you in that. It's like, but ask me, is that really what I want? And that's something I do a lot with law students that I mentor is like, why do you want to go to law school? Like, you keep saying that you haven't taken the LSAT or you keep putting off writing all these statements. Like, clearly there's something here, but they don't want to hear it. And like,
Yeah.
it sucks. No, nobody wants to told like maybe that's not the
Yeah.
right place, but I think
Well,
it's
and I think it's very scary as well, like it's scary to have a plan and to be like, I don't want to do that plan.
yeah,
Like
nobody likes to have
that's
their plans
scary.
poked holes into, but that's that's part of life. Like it's not always going to go
Yeah.
according to plan. And I think we need to do a better job of teaching people just that, it's okay to go with the flow and try new things and pivot. Like it's not a failure if things don't work out. Like you, like some people would probably say like you're not successful because you didn't do anything with your degree, even though you did something, you were doing really well at it. Like, but you know that you are successful because success is different to you. And I think that's like a reframe that just society needs to have in general. But okay, you said you didn't like teaching English. You were in Spain. You, but you really enjoyed being there. I mean, you stayed. You've been there for 4 years now. Talk to me. And I know lockdown had a big part of it, but how did you get into the virtual assistant world? You said like the Google rabbit hole, but what made you like who told you about that? Like being a virtual assistant, or is that something you found and you're like, oh, I can do that. Like, I like this. Walk me through building like the initial, okay, I'm going to start a business being a virtual assistant.
Yeah, so it was definitely just like the beginner's mindset of I was partly desperate to not teach English anymore, and another part desperate because I needed money, and teaching English does not pay well online. I think in general, probably teaching English doesn't pay well, but teaching English does not pay well. And also, I had a lot of free time, so I was only teaching 3 or 4 hours a day, and then the rest of the time I was just like chilling. And so, yeah, I just started Googling ways to make money while living abroad, ways to make money without a work visa, like just all of these different things. And then I think I just found it in a Facebook group or something. And it was like, oh, you should check out this course. Someone else had asked something similar. You should check out this course about how to be a virtual assistant. And it was a webinar funnel. So I just watched this webinar, and it was like, here's, the skills you can learn to be a virtual assistant, and these people who are working online need this help from you. And it was like writing blogs and social media and all the things that virtual assistants do. And I just thought, oh, I think I can do that. Like, how hard can it be? That's literally what I thought. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
Like, there are so many other people who are doing that right now. I have a degree in biochemistry. Like, surely I can figure this out. It was just kind of that
That's a
springboard
good
of,
mindset
I
to
mean, I
have,
finished college.
though.
Yeah, but surely I can just figure this out too. And it was a course. I was like, well, I'm good at school, so I'll just take this course. I'll just learn how to do it, and it will be fine. Obviously, it was way, way, way harder than that, way harder than I expected it to be, but hard in a good way and a challenging way that really had, made me grow as a person. And I think the first 6 months, I really just worked for basically free. I did like free internships. I did really cheap projects because I had no experience. So I really had to build out my portfolio. I just practiced a lot. And then I finally signed my first like long term client at, I think, $20 an hour after those first 6 months. And from there, it was just like, because I had done so much free work, it was really easy to continue signing clients because I was like, would see a job for a content writer, or content assistant. And I was like, oh, well, I've already written, these 5 blog posts for my internship, my free internship I did. Like, here they are. And look, they're even published on this website. And so I would definitely say, like, don't discount the impact of, being a beginner, like having the beginner mindset, and don't be afraid to do stuff for free, and just get your feet wet and see what happens and see what you enjoy. Because when I started as a virtual assistant, I thought, oh, I will probably go into social media or do content writing, and I didn't even know anything about systems, or that systems really existed at this point. And now that's the farthest thing from what I do. Well, not the farthest, but it's pretty far off from what I do now in the virtual world. So it's, I think, definitely just having that beginner mindset helped me so much throughout the first 2 years of building my business, because I really approached everything with just like, okay, well, I've already figured out this much. I can figure out this next thing. And I really also prioritize like investing in myself as much as possible with taking courses and learning new things, or even just watching, free videos on YouTube. Or if a client had a problem, offering to work on it for, even if it was a higher paid problem, technically working at it as my VA rate, just to practice and have that experience in my tool belt.
I think that's huge. And I think a lot of people, I mean, you started out, you needed the money. It wasn't that you didn't, like, you were just doing it to do it.
Yeah,
But
I was
I think,
definitely not financially secure for sure.
yeah,
So
but I think
don't get me
it's huge
wrong.
that you're like, you know what? I see the ROI on this. Like, I see the long term. Like, I'm gonna do it for free or do it for less just so I gain experience and add to my tool belt. I think that's a huge mindset that a lot of people, like, they want to be successful right off the bat. And like you said, it took you 6 months to get your first paid client at $20 an hour. 6 months in the grand scheme of things is not a long time, but at the beginning, it's a long time. Like, that
Yeah,
hurts that you're
definitely.
like not making money for 6 months, and you live abroad, and like you have bills to pay, and you have things you're doing, and you want to enjoy your time abroad. Like, you want to go out and enjoy, like, whatever everybody else is doing. but you can't because you don't have the money. So 6 months is a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not. And I think you said like it took you really like a year and a half, 2 years to really like get to where you were like, okay, this is working now. And I think maybe because you were like, you almost quit, like maybe the universe was like, no, we're going to show you that she should be doing this. And that's when it started to pick up. Like, because that
Yeah,
happened to me
definitely. It was
every
definitely a
time.
pivotal moment for sure.
Yeah, every time I've been like, I can't do this anymore, like something comes along and I'm like, oh, okay, like this is why I do this. Like someone encourages me or re-inspires me or whatever. So I think like that has a lot to do with it too. But it does take time to build a business and you can't just expect to be running before you walk, like doing what other people are doing just because they're in the same space as you, but they're at year 3 and you're at 6 months. Like it's not going to happen that way. Like I think all in all, you grew really quickly and that's huge. And you've learned a lot from it. And that's the most important thing is that you learn and you add skills to your tool belt. And yeah, you don't do now what you started out doing, but that helped you get to where you are now. And same for me, like what I initially thought I would do running my firm is not my primary thing anymore. It's something I still want to become my primary thing and I want to do more of it, but that's not my moneymaker right now. It's one of the many things I do. I've added on a lot of offerings because over time I've realized that I have more to do and more to offer and do I can provide other value, not just this one thing. So I think also being willing to evolve over time is a big part of it. But what happened after year 2? Like from year 2 to year 4 where you are now, like what was that like what was the biggest change for you, you think?
Yeah, I think after applying to graduate school and deciding not to go, and it was kind of just like the fork in the road of, okay, you either need to get you have to pick a lane, right? Like you need to just go full in on this or be done and go do something else. And it was when I decided, okay, actually, I'm just gonna go full in on this. I mean, up until this point, I had not even been like posting on social media for my business at all. Like it was something that I was kind of keeping secret up until this point. Like obviously, my family knew I was like making money, and my friends knew I like had this job, but I barely ever talked about it. I didn't post about it at all. There was no marketing. I had all my business through just applying for jobs. I was part of a lot of Facebook groups and stuff where you can apply for jobs and then just referrals as well. So most of my business was built on referrals and applications. And I decided, okay, well, if I want this to be something really sustainable, if I want to have a career out of this, like, then I need to start marketing. I need to fully commit and build an actual business. I think for those 2 years, I really treated it like a side hustle versus a business. And I think that's such a big mindset shift to make. And when you do make that decision, that's when things, actually do pick up. Like we were talking about, is there are times when you're like, oh, I just really want to quit. But when you every time you decide to stick it through and commit and seek it out, I feel like the universe really does reward you. And so I think at this time I was making around like 5K a month as a virtual assistant. And I was like, okay, next goal, 10K months. I was also training to be an online business manager. So I started stepping into more of a managerial role, which pays a lot better. And, just encompasses more of like the strategy piece and responsibility and close knit relationship with clients, which I really loved. And then for the next 2 years, I just went all in on that. I started marketing myself. I started pushing myself to step out of my comfort zone. And I had a client who had a mastermind, and I went through or I helped her run the mastermind like on the back end. But then after helping her run it, I think 1 or 2 times, I asked her, oh, can I actually be a coach in the mastermind? I will do it, for this first round as just part of my retainer, because I really wanted to have more speaking experience and I wanted to, have more teaching experience. And I knew that in the future, I wanted to be more of a brand and have this personal brand and have a podcast or something. I didn't know what it would be. But I just started making those baby steps with these like baby commitments. And that was started with showing up on social media, posting on social media, showing up on stories, selling offers, actually putting together like actual offers that I could make a website with, creating a full website. I didn't even have a full website at this point.
Same.
Actually creating the website putting the offers on there. Yeah. Like it was such a side hustle mentality for so long. And I got really far with that, but I knew long term, I couldn't keep running it the same way if I wanted to make more money, if I wanted to continue to grow, and especially growing when I was also growing my skill set, I wanted my business to grow with me. And so it was really just about seeing the long-term vision of like, okay, I want to hit 10K months or having some big goal, whatever it is, doesn't have to be monetary. Um, or I want to book myself out or whatever. And then just taking those like really micro steps, but also pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like the past 2 years, I feel like have just been straight, like I've been kicked out of my comfort zone at this point. And, that's fun sometimes. Sometimes it's kind of sucks. Like you're just like, oh my God, I just want to like go crawl in a hole in my bed and like not talk to anyone for a week and just regulate my nervous system. But it's been so worth it. And just from the connections that I've gotten to make, the people that I've met, like even just having a presence online has been such a game changer just for me personally, because I love connecting with people. I love getting to meet people. I've met a lot of people in real life. I've helped my clients host in-person retreats and gotten to go to them. And I've been to retreats as well. And that's stuff that I never even thought possible within those first 2 years of having a business.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm currently building my website and I just hired 2 assistants at the end of last year to help me start putting these systems and processes and actually leveling it up. And I wasn't never treating it like a side hobby, but my mindset wasn't where I needed it to be for it to be successful. Like in a way, I like I was working part-time, so it was my side thing for a while. And I truly have only been on my own since September. So I'm still like the last 4 or 5 months, it's really been that mindset work of shifting from, I have income coming in somewhere else. So like, it's okay if this doesn't work out to like, no, this is all I have. And like transparently, like, yeah, like I make 3 to 5K a month, but like, I know where my goals need to be. Like, I agree. I don't love talking about it only in the monetary sense. There's other metrics and other things that are important, but you need money to run a business. You don't need money to start a business, but you need money to keep it
Yeah.
running. And, if I want to keep doing this and I want to make a living, like I need to start leveling up and I need to do things very differently. So I'm working on the website and I'm working on those systems and processes. And it's something I've actually talked about with Alex Porterfield, which I know you work with a lot. And she's been on this podcast. I'll link her episode below. But, maybe later this year, I will either get an online business manager or like a law firm coach, one or the other. Like at some point, I know I'm going to make that investment because I know that that is not my skill set. And like there is people I know who have done it themselves, but they burned out and they built $1 million firms and they're really like, they love it and their business is doing really well, but they're not where they want to be personally. And like ultimately why I chose going on my own was so I could live the lifestyle that I do. And I want to maintain that lifestyle and continue. I want my life to look and feel a certain way. And being a law firm owner and a business owner and a lawyer is a part of it, but it's not the whole thing. And so that's my mindset. And that's the reason why. And like remembering why I started. And I think that's a big part of it too. But in order to even have that, even if it is something that fits into your lifestyle, like you need to have money and systems and processes to keep it running. And I think it's huge that for me, it's only been a year and I'm at that point. It took you those 2, 3 years to really get there. But it's, I think it's because I have access to people like you. I talk to people like you where I see what you guys did wrong and I can learn from it. So it's good that you're like, okay, like, I can't go back and change it. But like, if I were to do things differently, I would, this is what I would do. And that reflection, that's the hardest part about entrepreneurship, I think. Like the emotional roller coasters of like, reflecting on what you have done and what you could do differently and where you can learn from it. And, you don't have that safety net for a while, like unless you have money sitting around
Yeah,
to
definitely.
protect you or a job to go back to. But at some point you do have to take that leap and go all in and stop treating it like a side hustle and like actually quit the job and like go for it. And that's really, really scary to do. So walk me through, like, you said like tangibly what you did, but what was that mindset shift like? And from then to like, a year ago when you really started to implement that and, you did the online business management course and you started, working with other people and doing the masterminds and speaking engagements to now where you are in your business?
Yeah, I think it was realizing that, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. I think it's called the Pareto principle, where 20% of your actions are going to make up 80% of your results. And I think that is so true in business in the way of 20%. Like, we spend most of our time in business doing the 80% that is not actually really taking us toward our goals. And we have this like set 20% that's a really small, like one or two, maybe three things that in your mind you need to do. Like, you have been told it, or you just know that it's the right thing you need to do. It could be, oh, I want to start a business, but I know I need to I know I need to market myself on social media, but I don't want to. And you avoid it. Like, it's your job to just avoid doing this thing. And you go and you try every other thing possible to avoid doing this one thing. But when you actually just man up and like do the thing, it changes the way your business runs.
Yep.
Like, for example, once I started posting on social media and building relationships and using it as a relationship building tool on Instagram, I started making 10 to 15K months. I went from making 7K months at my max to 10 to 15 pretty easily. And I knew for a year before that, oh, I should really be utilizing social media better. I should be making these connections. I should be marketing myself, learning how to market myself better. But I avoided it because I was scared. I didn't, I'm from Oklahoma. There was no one else like doing what I'm doing at the time, especially really. And I didn't want to deal with what people were thinking of me, or, just all the insecurities and the imposter syndrome of, well, I'm not an expert. Oh, I don't have a degree in this. Like, there was just so many mindset things that came up with that. But it was really just deciding like, okay, to do it anyway. And from that moment, I really started to look at things that I wanted to do, but were actively avoiding doing, or things that I knew I should do. I didn't even want to do them, but I was like, I know if I do this, something is going to change. Like, things are going to change in my business because I'm going to put myself at a different level. I'm going to be out of my comfort zone. I am going to be, building a skill, whether it's speaking or, teaching, or, whatever it is. And just really trying to continually push myself to do those things and not waste time on doing the other 80% of things that I was doing to actively avoid that. Um, so yeah, I think it was just like a really big mindset shift, and just deciding to show up and do the hard things anyway. And it sounds easy and when you say it, and I think in the moment it's
Yeah.
very hard and it's scary and it's unknown. Like, the unknown is scary. And I think there are so many times where, it's not like everything I do that's hard becomes like some amazing result. That's not true at all. Like, I do a lot of things and try a lot of things nowadays. And so, half of them don't really provide any result. And it's just more of an experiment type of thing. But at the end of the day, that's fine, because I'm looking at it as an opportunity to continue learning, to continue growing, to see what is actually working. But you can't see what's going to work if you don't do anything in the first place.
Yeah. I think that's like kind of where I'm at right now. And it's just it is really scary and hard in practicality, easier said than done. But I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
it's just you have to do it. Like it's what you said, you just have to.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, you know, how did your business change? Because it's funny, like you run a business running other people's businesses. That's what you do, but you also have to run your own. So what are things that you've learned in for doing in other people's businesses that have scaled them to 6 and 7 figures that has helped you scale your business? Like maybe you're not at that point where they're at in their business, but you're doing pretty well for yourself. So how did you like those things that you say, like you have to just learn and try those things to help other people's businesses? What have you learned from helping scale those businesses that you can take into practice in your own?
Yeah, I love this question. I think it's like the blessing and the curse of being behind the scenes is I've seen how successful businesses, run. You also see how much effort and time and energy and that goes into even just making the day-to-day operations run, or how many failed, quote unquote failed flopped launches there are. Like there, I have a client who, she had a 250K launch last year, but she also we she spends like 30 hours a week of her time and her team's time just on content creation. Like that's so much time
Yeah.
that goes into content creation. And yes, it can provide these amazing results, but if I'm looking at, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, and then I'm looking at what she does to keep her YouTube channel running, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's a lot of time. That's a lot of work. And especially having a business where I'm also having clients and working in other people's businesses as well. So my time is really, really split between my business and my clients' businesses. It's really having to be good at prioritizing, like, what is the most important things I need to be doing in my business because I just don't have as much time. And also just trying to avoid like shiny object syndrome, like just because my client is doing something that does not mean I need to be doing it, or that I'm going to get the same result. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's really prioritizing exactly what I need to be doing in the business so that all of the time I'm putting in is providing some sort of ROI. I think the other really big thing I've seen with successful businesses is they really have the ability to, um I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. They show up when they say that they're going to show up, and they also have the ability to let go and let other people do their jobs when needed as well. So they're not micromanagers, and they are also very, very disciplined in the way that they show up in their business. So one of my clients, like everything that she says that she does, like she's going to do, she does it. And I don't have to worry about, oh, is she actually going to do that? I've had other clients as well on the other side of the coin where they say, oh, this week I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I just already know they're not going to do it. And then at the end of the week, it's not done. And then they are, having more roller coaster businesses. Their businesses they are not as consistent because they are not as consistent with showing up and, doing the things that they need to be doing. I think
Yeah.
those are the two biggest things I've learned is being consistent, but also letting people do their jobs, not micromanaging. That's something that I've really been working on learning recently. Having a team. I've hired a team in the last like 6 months,
That was
and
be my
just
next
letting my team do
question.
their
So
job. Also, yeah. Yeah, like, I think having a team has been, like, a whole new experience for me, and I really had to, like, put on my CEO pants and be like, "Okay, you need," because I'm used to doing everything myself for the most part or delegating to my clients' teams. And I'm like, no, you can't do everything yourself. Like, you need to delegate. You need to, trust that your team can do this just as good, if not better than you can. You need to be open to giving feedback and, having the hard conversations and setting boundaries and setting deadlines and all of these things. And um, the most successful CEOs I work with are really, really good at that. They are really, really good at setting boundaries. They're really good at delegating. They're really good at letting people like thrive in their role as well.
yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Like I was like, since you've learned that, like, that they have to rely on their teams and that delegation is a big part of it. And that's also the part of running a business. Like, there is people who run successful businesses when they do everything, but that is not sustainable long term, especially if you don't have a support system and
Yeah, no.
like, whether it's a partner or a family or a safety net financial, like you can't do it all alone. Like not everybody can. Some people can, but that's not sustainable. So I was going to ask, like, what does delegation look like for you, or how are you going to start implementing that in the future? Because for me, hiring two assistants, I've only had them for a few months, but I already can't imagine not having them. And I'm looking for, like I said, like a business manager, or I hired a CPA to help me handle the finance side of things because I don't know that world. I'm not good at math. And, and having like I'm looking at law clerks and paralegals to help me handle the workload so I can do more of the content creation and the marketing side that is going to bring in more clients and more work. Like it's a cycle. There's a lot of things, but how do you handle delegation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like just every week I sit down on Monday or sometimes just on Friday for the next week, and I really map out like everything that's going on in the business, and I just call it like a delegation session with myself. And I plan ahead what I'm going to do for the next week. And then I look at that and I say, okay, what can I delegate? And I try to do this a bit earlier as well, like if I can. So if I, for example, if I onboard a new client and then we have our strategy call, and then I can already start mapping out like our project plan for the next, 2 or 3 weeks, I make sure to sit down and do that so that then I can already start delegating pieces, or at least picking, okay, this is what I'm going to delegate. So I can tell my assistant, these are what you're gonna be working on, even if I don't have all the details yet. And then she just already knows, okay, I need to kind of save time for this and save, time for this and come back to this. And so just having this time with yourself to make those decisions and, do it from a place of not trying to rush yourself, or not trying to be like last minute with everything, like, oh, well, I need this done by tomorrow, or, I need this done in 2 days. I feel like that coming from a really stressful place is very, very hard to manage a team under. And it's also very hard on team members as well. And that's just from my own experience of working with clients who are just very last minute. I didn't like working for clients who were very last minute. So I try to not do that to my team. And the better I've gotten at delegating, I have the same where I'm like, oh my God, I could not imagine doing this without an assistant, especially now that I have so many more marketing efforts. Because, you know, the thing is, you have to identify what tasks are CEO tasks, like what tasks are the tasks only you can do. Obviously, recording this podcast is something you can do. Your assistant cannot record this
Yeah.
podcast for you. Marketing is a huge piece. Like that's typically something only you can do, or you have to kind of be in somewhat charge of, with the ideation, or the reviewing and stuff. Like you have to have a big part in that. Client work, I have to be on the strategy calls with clients. Like that's something I have to do. But everything else around that, actually setting up a system or setting up a tool, I can have my assistant do that under my guidance. I can tell her what I want her to do, but she can actually spend the hours going in there and like working out the details and setting that up. So it's really being able to like pick apart these tasks and being able to let go of things that you actually don't need to be doing, even if you can do it. Just because you can do it does not mean you should be doing it. So even if you can do it, even if you enjoy doing it, like I enjoy setting up a ClickUp workspace for sure when I have the time, but that's just not where my time is best spent at all. So yeah, I think that's the biggest like mindset and tactical thing you really have to work on.
No, I love that so much because I was gonna ask you, like, how do you reflect on what isn't working in your own business and also in your clients' businesses, and how do you take what you're learning in those businesses and apply them to your own? So I like that you have like delegation sessions with yourself and then pick apart the tasks and then assign them accordingly. I don't quite do it so like neatly, like where I like call it something, but I like think I kind of in a way do that where I have like a master Google Doc of all the things I want to do, and I assigned it to each of my assistants of like what they're better suited for. And for the most part, I'm still early enough where I'm reviewing almost everything that they're doing because it's my name on the door. But
Yeah, of course.
getting
And
to the
you need
point
that, of
where
course.
yeah, but we're getting to the point where, they're doing things on their own, and it's helpful. It's very, very helpful. And so you have one assistant, do you have more people, or like what size is your team right now?
So I have one main assistant, and then I have other contractors that I will work with if I need. Like I have a website person who helps with building website pages and websites. I have just an admin assistant who does some admin things here and there. My main assistant is like a tech BA assistant. So she really helps me with a lot of the execution pieces on the projects. And I think I will end up probably hiring someone else, like not replacing her, but having a second person doing that job as well eventually as my client load grows. And ideally, I would also like to have a client manager or like an online business manager as well. But yeah, so pretty small team, but I really enjoy that. I want to keep it as lean as possible because I feel like that just makes it so much easier to manage and keep everyone on the same page.
Yeah, no, I agree with keeping it lean. Right now I have the two, but I have a contract attorney for some things. I want to hire another contract attorney at some point later this year. And I want to hire a law clerk and a paralegal. The paralegal who knows more than I do so I can, start offering better services. And more expertise, and then a law clerk
Yeah.
to train to be a mini me. So, when there's overflow, it's not just me staying up till midnight to do work. But I think it's important to be lean and know, like, and also I think you don't have to hire employees. I think nowadays there could be a lot can be done with contractors, and it
Yeah, I would say most of my clients build their business up to 7 figures with just contractors,
oh
like,
yeah,
no
I know a lot
employees.
of
I would
people
say yeah.
who've done that too. But I think it's cool that, as your business has evolved, you've noticed that those are the changes that need to be made. And like I said, I love having people in my circle that kind of, even though you are not an attorney and you're not running a law firm, a lot of things that you've implemented are things I could learn from. And that is super helpful to me. I think surrounding yourself with the right kind of people is also a really important part of entrepreneurship. But I wanted to talk about too, like I mentioned at the beginning, holistic entrepreneurship. And I wanted to talk about, you said like health and wellness is something that's always been very important to you. You do a lot of different things. You wear a lot of different hats, even though you're delegating. How do you, like you said, and time management and prioritization, and I talk about that a lot too, but what does like an average like day and week in your life look like? How do you get everything done, and how do you still make time for you and your relationships and your family and your friends and like your life outside of work?
Yeah, I think it's always a work in progress, as our lives change and adjust. It's something that always needs to be changed. I think that's something that I realized within the past year. It's like, there's not like a set perfect routine of, oh, and this morning I do this, and tomorrow on Tuesdays I live my life like this. I think so I've really learned to be flexible with it, but with that flexibility, I feel like you really do still need some sort of structure and foundations. And this is what I try to do with my business as well. And what I do in my clients' businesses is building out, these foundational systems where at the end of the day, even if we are running on the bare minimum of effort that we want to run on, the business can still run. And I try to have my business like that as well, where it's just making it as easy as possible to be able to show up and be consistent day in and day out, week in, week out. And so, maybe that looks like having the having your client onboarding process completely automated so you don't have to open your laptop every time you want to sign on a new client, or having your content processes really nailed down, and being able to batch your content 1 or 2 weeks out. So you're not scrambling every day to make a post. And then if you end up having a really busy day, you're not posting. And so I think it's really looking at your goals of what do you want to accomplish each week, getting super clear about that. Like if my goals are, I want to post 3 times this week on Instagram, I want to record a podcast episode, I have client work to do, I want to finish this client project, really getting clear on what these goals are, and then making sure I have the system set up to be able to accomplish that. So if I know I want to post 3 pieces of content this week, okay, well, how can I create that in advance, maybe the week before or at the beginning of the week so that it's ready to go. And then on a Wednesday, if I am suddenly slammed with calls and I'm busy all day and I just don't have the headspace to write a caption, that's fine because I just have it ready to go in my notes and I can just post it. And whenever you have these systems and processes like really clearly outlined, it just takes away so much it puts back so much mental energy on your plate because you're not having to start from scratch every time you want to do about something. You're not having to think like, oh, well, now I said I was going to post 3 times this week and now I have to think of a post. Like sometimes even just thinking of a post is like the hardest part of
Yeah.
creating the post, it's the thought that actually goes into it. And it's the same with so many things we do with our businesses and even with delegating to a team. That's why like you said, like sit down and have a place where I can look at everything that's going on and then delegate it out, in one session. So then the rest of the week, I don't have to think about delegating to my team. My team knows what they're doing all week. If they have questions, they can ping me in Slack. But other than that, great. It's just something else that's off my plate, which allows me to have the space to, disconnect from work at the end of the day because I'm not thinking, oh, there's always so much more. I mean, there always is so much more you can do, but I'm like, oh, well, there's time for that tomorrow because I have my days set. I have the structure in place for the week. I know what I'm doing each day. I know I'm going to accomplish that tomorrow. And if something does come up, then I have to push something back. That's fine because I have a system for managing all my projects. And, even just in the mornings, we were talking about this before we started recording, but I also do like really slow mornings. I don't really start working until 10:30 or 11. And I work a bit later, especially because of my time zone. But I don't want to be stressed out in the mornings. I want to have that time to work out and to meditate and to read and to do whatever, I want to do. And I have to to be able to do that, and to be able to do that uh, without stress. I have to make sure that my time in my business is really, really well spent. And I know that's happening because of the systems that I have in place to keep my business running during those times.
Yeah. But how do you make time for you? Like, what do you do on your slow mornings when you stop at the end of the night? Like, what do you do? What do you do on weekends? Like, how do you replenish? How do you make more time for you and the people in your life and the energy, replenish that energy?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is just making sure I'm resting enough. I'm a projector in human design, and it's like a big, if you know anything about human design, it's very big in rest and just recovering. I read a lot. I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, so
Same.
I read a lot on my Kindle, especially at night. Oh, nice. Yeah, so I read a lot after work. That's kind of how I decompress. I let myself watch TikTok for an hour if that's what I want to do. I'm pretty flexible with stuff like that. I just make sure that I'm not working. I also have separate Instagram accounts. So I have like a personal account where I only follow my friends and family. And so at the end of the night, I will switch to that account. So even if I do open up Instagram, I'm not automatically seeing notifications and business and stuff like that, just to really make sure I'm giving my brain a break. And then on weekends and stuff, I try not to open my email, try not to really, check Instagram, because I am one of those people, if I see an email that like needs my attention, I will not stop thinking about it until I actually
Yeah.
reply.
I
Um,
need
yeah.
to be better about
But
that
yeah, and
too. So hard.
yeah, and I think just with the mornings and stuff, it's just finding the things that you really like. Like, I love having a slow morning. I love the routine that I've built for myself. I love getting to meditate for 20 minutes, and I really tried to tie that into like long, my day benefits, where I feel like, oh, I'm spending 20 minutes meditating in the morning, and that's making setting up my day for so much a better experience at the end of the day. So, trying to kind of tie in how that time in the morning is actually making me more productive throughout the rest of the day as well. Which who knows if it is. I'm sure maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I think sometimes we can just have such a hard time like not spending every hour working, and even though that's just not possible and not sustainable, but you do need to make sure to have the time for yourself, and that you're resting and recovering. And yeah, I love to hang out with friends, go just get drinks, talk, chill, explore. I live in Amsterdam, so there's lots of museums and stuff to see all the time, so I love to do that as well.
Yeah. I think that's my hardest part is even in my slow mornings or at night or weekends, like I need to stop having my phone next to me. I love reading. I'm a Kindle person too. My Kindle's always dead, so I read on my phone. So my phone's always in my hands, and I need to be better about not having my phone in my hands. That's something like I really need to work on this year. And I like joke that I can't wait for my slow summer like at the beach where I'm not like gonna be
Yeah,
at events and always on all the time. And like I'm really looking forward to I need to slow down and be more present when I'm not working, because it's really hard for me to turn my brain off because my phone's always in my hands, and knowing when is the right time to be like, okay, work is done for the day. Like I'm good at hard stopping work, but doesn't mean I'm not checking my emails and my phone and like my notifications. And it does cause me anxiety. And I'm a manifesting generator, actually, like human design. And we are the serial entrepreneur. We are the people always doing a million different things at once, and always trying new things, always new ideas and starting them. And it's like, I am that person, and I need to and I can come up with a million business ideas for somebody else, but I can't execute for shit. And so I hired a Capricorn. So I'm a Sagittarius. My assistant's a Capricorn, my admin girl. And I'm like, she gets my ideas and she executes in a way that I literally would never be able to, because I just
yeah,
I'm not the detail oriented person. I'm the big picture person. So it's good that you're a little bit of both. Like I wish I was more of the detail person, but I am just not. That's something I need to hire for. Like you hire for your weaknesses. And I'm working on
Yeah,
all those
definitely.
things this year so I can slow down and, turn my phone off and turn my brain off and, you know, take a deep breath, take a step back because there's so much I want to do and there's so much I need to do to get to where I want to be, but like I can't keep or like going, burning the candle at both ends. Like that's the journey that this year will be in the growth, year 2 of the firm and, you know, year 2 of entrepreneurship. And it's a figuring out year for sure, but it shall be interesting. What do you think like the biggest piece of advice for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, particularly in the online space? They don't necessarily know what they want to do. Maybe something you said here was like, oh, like maybe I can do that. I have those skills. Like, what is the biggest thing you wish you would have known when you started, or the biggest piece of advice you have to someone who wants to get started?
Yeah, I would say the biggest piece of advice I could give someone is just like practice being resilient, like not looking at failure as failure. It's just another step along the journey. It's all a learning experience. Have the beginner's mindset of there's always something here to learn. I think especially as you go through entrepreneurship, you can kind of get a bit not stuck up, but a bit, oh, I already know all of this type of stuff. And there is something that is so underrated about just going back to basics and really having really solid basics and foundations, and those are built in your first year of entrepreneurship. And I think just having the muscle of being able to keep going, and it's okay to be discouraged, and it's okay to want to quit, and to go search for jobs on LinkedIn, and to have a crying session on the couch, for sure. Like, you need all of those things too, but also just know in the back of your mind, like, I'm gonna have this job search session on LinkedIn today, and tomorrow I'm gonna show up on my Instagram again. I'm gonna, show up where I need to show up and do the things I need to do for my business to keep going. And I really think it's a muscle. It's something that you have to keep practicing, and it gets easier as you go. At first, I think it feels very unnatural because it can really feel like the universe is telling you, don't do this. Like, it just feels so hard to keep going. But and especially for you, like if you're in your second year and you're like, this is a figure it out year, like this is your chance to just figure it out and like try as many things as possible, and not just try things and then like move on and forget about it, but try things and then look at what worked, what didn't work, like what can I learn from this, and really make sure you're taking away from each experience something that is tangible, and like another kind of just, you're basically building your own staircase to your success. And so just being really intentional about it. But yeah, also just, remembering that tomorrow is a new day. It's another chance to keep going. And it's like the cheesy quote, like you don't, what is it? You can't fail unless you quit. Like, quitting is really the only version of failure. As long as you keep going, then it's not really a failure in the end of the day.
Yeah, that and if you don't learn from it, I think that's the other like failure. But I agree, resilience is essential as an entrepreneur. It's something that I'm luckily very familiar with and I think I'm pretty good at.
Yeah.
But it's that softer side and that reflection side. Like I used to be the type of person I would only reflect when like things got bad. And like I was at rock bottom and like let me like pull myself out of here instead of like doing it periodically. And that's something that, I need to be better about. And, learning from my mistakes and learning from things that maybe didn't work out and trying new things and, implementing things, learning from them, maybe I scrap it, but, try again. Yeah, that's the figure it out year that I'm in for sure. But what do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in the last 4 years of entrepreneurship?
Oh my gosh, so much. I think so much of entrepreneurship is a personal growth journey as well. Like, I have really learned so much about myself in the way of just coming into my own self-confidence. And I think it's also probably just being in my 20s as well. Like, I'm 27. I know you're 26. So it's part of, I think, also just growing up. But growing up and being an entrepreneur is like self discovery on steroids, basically, because everything you do is like impacting your business as well. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is just how important mindset is, and how much my mindset has really played into my entrepreneurial journey, and how much my, childhood has played into my decision making, and just really being able to reflect back on situations and not blame, not feel like it was unfair or what I went through was, something terrible or whatever, but just being able to be like, yes, that happened. And, here I am today. And this is why I am the way I am. And this is what led me here. And I'm going to make the most of it. And just having this like radical self acceptance of this is who I am. This is what I want to do. I'm going to trust that this is my journey. I feel like, especially the past year and a half, I've really dove into mindset work. And it's just been such an eye-opening experience about how, great life can really be if you let it be great, if you take control of your life and you make the decisions you want to make. And I think that's impacted my personal life so much as well, because I'm living abroad. Like, I'm also in the situation where I'm meeting people all the time. I'm networking. I'm trying to make friends as well. Half the time that's also something that's hard when you work online and you move to a new city or something. You have to go and make friends and meet people, and you need this like radical self-acceptance and this confidence to do that and to build relationships that are genuine relationships. And so I think, yeah, that would definitely be like the biggest piece that I've learned about myself, is just how to love myself and accept myself as I am, and
Yeah.
still continue to grow and, enjoy the journey as it
Yeah.
goes.
No, I could not agree more. I think I always say like confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. And last year, 25 was the year that I finally learned to trust myself. And I'm working on that
Yeah.
radical self acceptance and self love. Like, I'm proud of myself. I'm very resilient. I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm grateful. Everything happens for a reason. Like, I know I wouldn't be where I am today had all of those things not happened. And I'm grateful for them. But still, like, sometimes it's hard to trust my gut and trust my intuition. And my human design, like it says, like I'm a sacral authority, and learning to trust that intuition and not listening to my brain because the logical side of me wants to come in and be like, no. And I'm like, no, I have to do this.
Yeah, I'm also a sacral authority, so I get
Even if it's
that.
messy, even if it's like people won't like that, society says like you shouldn't, like you have to do what you got to do. And, learning to just, trust the process and love yourself through it no matter what happens. I think that's kind of also where I'm at. And like you said, like the biggest thing in the last year for you has been the mindset shift. And like you've learned so much about yourself in entrepreneurship. I think I joke, and I think I told you this, like I'm getting an MBA in life. Like this is that's exactly where
It's
I'm at
so true.
and what I'm doing. And I would not change it for the world, but doesn't mean it's not hard. And sometimes it really does suck, but it's the best of both worlds. I joke that it's a Hannah Montana life, but like I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think the rewards are definitely worth the risk, or you know,
Yeah,
it's
you
definitely
gotta.
worth it at the end of the day, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you wouldn't like the risk it before. Like you gotta risk it to get the biscuit. Like it's not worth it if you didn't have to work hard for it. Like if it comes too easy, you're like, that was too easy. Like no, that can't be real. So it's nice when you look back and you're like, damn, I
Yeah.
did good. Like that was success. Like I'm proud of that. And that's the thing I think is for me, just learning to be proud of myself of where I'm at, even though I want more for myself and there's always more I could be doing. The work's never over, but being really proud of where I'm at. And that comes with trusting myself and self love and self acceptance and, being open to what else is out there for me and just keep grinding every single day. So I love this. Where can everybody find you? Pimp yourself out. I'll link it all below.
You can find me on Instagram. If I didn't talk about it enough this episode, I'm at Systems with Sam, and you can see all about my business journey there, what I do with clients, and then I also have my own podcast, Beyond the Systems, which Kayla will be on as well. So I'm really excited to have her on. And yeah, definitely come and say hi and shoot me a DM if you find me.
Awesome. I will link it all below and we will see you next week.